You probably think you know which animal in America is the most likely to kill you. Most people guess a shark, or a bear, or maybe a rattlesnake coiled up in the desert. The truth is stranger, and in some cases it is standing in your own backyard right now. Across the United States, people are injured and killed every single year by animals that most of us barely think twice about. While the creatures we fear the most in movies barely register on the list at all. Some of these deaths come from predators built to kill. Others come from animals with no interest in hurting anyone. Animals that only react when startled, cornered, or provoked. Today, we are ranking 11 American animals from least deadly to most deadly, based on real, documented cases and verified statistics. Some of these will surprise you. A few will completely change the way you look at the outdoors, your neighborhood, and even your own driveway. And when we reach number 1, you will understand why wildlife experts consider it, by a massive margin, the most dangerous animal in the entire country. We will look at where each of these animals actually lives, what makes it dangerous in the first place, and the real documented incidents that shaped how we understand the risk today. This is not about fear for the sake of fear. It is about understanding the actual odds behind the headlines. Because the real picture of danger in America looks very different once you step away from movies and into verified records. Stick around. Because the answer for number 1 is almost certainly not what you expect. Before we get into the list, if you are enjoying this kind of content, take a second to subscribe. It genuinely helps this channel keep making videos like this one. And I would love to know, drop a comment and tell me what part of the world you are watching from tonight. Now, let's get into it. Starting off at number 11, we have the gray wolf. Wolves were hunted to near extinction across most of the United States by the early 20th century, largely through organized government predator control programs. And since being reintroduced to places like Yellowstone National Park in the 1990s, their populations have slowly recovered in parts of the northern Rockies and the Great Lakes region. Adult gray wolves typically weigh between 70 and 145 pounds, stand around 30 inches at the shoulder, and can sprint at speeds up to 40 miles per hour when chasing prey like elk or deer. Despite their size, power, and pack hunting behavior, verified fatal wolf attacks on humans in the United States are extraordinarily rare, with wildlife biologists generally unable to point to a single confirmed case in the modern record within the lower 48 states. Wolves are naturally wary of humans and tend to avoid confrontation entirely. That said, biologists still urge caution around wolves that have become habituated to human presence through feeding, since a loss of natural fear is what tends to precede the rare incidents that do occur in North America. Wolves generally hunt in coordinated packs, targeting weak, young, or injured prey rather than seeking out confrontation with anything that could fight back. And researchers who study wolf behavior consistently describe humans as outside their normal prey recognition entirely. For now, though, wolves stay firmly at the bottom of our list. More myth than menace when it comes to American soil. Moving up to number 10, we have the mountain lion, also known as the cougar, puma, or panther depending on the region. These solitary cats range across the western United States, from California to Texas, with a small, isolated population surviving in the swamps of Florida. Mountain lions can weigh up to 220 pounds, measure over 7 feet from nose to tail, and are capable of leaping horizontally over 40 feet in a single bound. Despite their raw power, mountain lion attacks on humans remain rare, largely because these cats are ambush predators that generally prefer to avoid direct confrontation with something as large as a person. One of the most well-documented cases occurred in 1994 near Auburn, California, when a mountain lion attacked and killed a woman jogging on a trail in the Sierra foothills, an incident that led to significant changes in how California manages mountain lion encounters. Wildlife officials note that attacks tend to rise slightly as human development pushes further into mountain lion territory. But statistically, you are still far more likely to be struck by lightning than killed by one of these cats. Wildlife agencies in states like Colorado and Washington now run public education campaigns teaching hikers what to do if they spot a mountain lion, since standing tall, making noise, and never running have proven to be the most effective ways to avoid escalating an encounter. At number 9, we travel into the American South and Gulf Coast for the American alligator. These reptiles can grow to lengths of over 13 feet and weigh close to 1,000 pounds, with a bite force strong enough to crush bone with ease. Found throughout Florida, Louisiana, and much of the southeastern United States, alligators are ambush predators that rely on patience, often lying motionless in murky water for hours before striking with explosive speed. One of the most widely reported cases in recent memory happened in 2016 at a resort near Orlando, Florida, where a toddler was pulled into a lagoon by an alligator at night, a tragedy that prompted major changes to warning signage and water access policies across Florida resorts. Alligator attacks tend to spike during the warmer months when both alligators and people are more active near lakes, canals, and golf course ponds. Wildlife agencies stress that alligators generally avoid humans, but attacks do increase in areas where alligators have been illegally fed and have lost their natural caution around people. Florida's Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission now maintains a dedicated nuisance alligator hotline and relocation program specifically because of how frequently alligators turn up in residential canals, retention ponds, and even swimming pools across the state. At number 8, we have sharks, an animal that dominates our collective fear of the ocean despite its actual death toll in the United States being remarkably small. Species like the great white, bull shark, and tiger shark patrol American coastlines from California to the Carolinas, with great whites capable of reaching lengths over 15 feet and weights exceeding 2,000 pounds. One of the most famous documented cases in American history occurred in 1916 along the Jersey Shore, when a series of shark attacks over a period of less than 2 weeks resulted in several fatalities and briefly caused nationwide panic, inspiring decades of shark mythology in American culture. In modern times, Florida records more shark bites than any other state, with New Smyrna Beach earning a reputation as one of the most bite-prone stretches of coastline in the world. Yet fatalities there remain exceptionally rare. The 1916 attacks are widely credited as part of the inspiration behind decades of later shark fiction, permanently shaping American perceptions of these animals well beyond what the actual statistics support. The vast majority of shark encounters in the United States today are non-fatal, involving a single exploratory bite rather than a sustained attack. And experts consistently note that humans kill far more sharks each year than sharks kill humans. Marine biologists who track these encounters point out that most bites happen in murky, wave-churned water where visibility is poor, which is why the majority of documented cases involve surfers and swimmers near sandbars rather than divers in clear open water. For our 7th entry, we head into wooded and grassland areas across the country for venomous snakes, primarily rattlesnakes, copperheads, and cottonmouths. The United States is home to around 20 species of venomous snake, with the eastern diamondback rattlesnake being the largest, capable of growing over 7 feet long and delivering a bite with enough venom to be life-threatening without prompt medical treatment. Snake bites occur most frequently in warmer states like Texas, Arizona, and Florida, especially during spring and summer when snakes are most active. While thousands of Americans are bitten by venomous snakes every year, the vast majority survive thanks to widely available anti-venom and emergency care, with documented fatalities remaining in the single digits annually on a national scale. Historical records include numerous well-documented cases of rattlesnake bites among hikers and outdoor workers in the Southwest, often resulting from accidentally stepping near a snake that felt cornered. Experts emphasize that nearly all snake bites happen when a person surprises or handles a snake, since these animals overwhelmingly prefer retreat over confrontation. Poison control centers across the Southwest report a noticeable seasonal spike in calls every spring, coinciding with when snakes emerge from winter dormancy and become more active around trails, wood piles, and rocky terrain. If you are enjoying this list so far, now would be a great time to hit that subscribe button, because the animals coming up from here are responsible for far more documented deaths every single year than everything we have covered so far combined. And the very last entry might completely change the way you think about your daily commute. At number 6, we have spiders, specifically the black widow and the brown recluse, two species found throughout much of the United States. The black widow is easily identified by its glossy black body and red hourglass marking, while the brown recluse, common across the central and southern states, is known for a necrotic bite that can cause serious tissue damage without prompt treatment. Despite their fearsome reputation, verified spider bite fatalities in the United States are quite rare in modern records, largely because effective medical treatment is widely available. Historical documentation from the early and mid-20th century includes several confirmed black widow bite deaths, particularly among agricultural workers and outhouse users who encountered the spiders in dark, undisturbed spaces. Modern case reports of fatal brown recluse bites remain limited and are sometimes disputed by toxicologists, since the species is frequently misidentified. Even so, both spiders remain medically significant. And entomologists note that most bites occur when a spider is accidentally trapped against skin, inside a shoe, a glove, or bedding, rather than through any deliberate aggression. Entomologists also point out that both species are largely nocturnal and reclusive by nature, which is precisely how the brown recluse earned its name, generally avoiding open, well-lit areas in favor of closets, basements, and stacks of undisturbed cardboard. At number 5, we have large farm animals, primarily cattle and horses. This entry might surprise you, but agricultural animals are responsible for a documented number of fatalities in the United States every year, mostly through kicks, trampling, and crushing injuries on farms and ranches. A full-grown dairy bull can weigh well over 2,000 pounds, and even docile cattle can move with startling speed and force when frightened or protective of their young. The United States Department of Labor has tracked numerous documented workplace fatalities involving cattle handling incidents, particularly among farmers and ranch workers in states like Texas, Iowa, and Nebraska. Horses, too, contribute to this toll, with falls, kicks, and crush injuries during riding, training, and handling accounting for a steady stream of documented incidents nationwide each year. Unlike wild predators, these animals are almost never acting with predatory intent. Their size and strength alone make them capable of lethal accidents, which is exactly why agricultural safety training places so much emphasis on reading livestock body language. Occupational safety researchers note that many of these incidents happen during routine handling, loading, or veterinary work, when an animal feels trapped in a chute or pen with no clear route to retreat, which is often when a normally calm animal reacts defensively. Number 4 brings us to American black bears and, in much smaller numbers, grizzly bears found in the northern Rockies and parts of Alaska. Black bears can weigh up to 600 pounds, while grizzlies can exceed 800 pounds, with both species capable of running in short bursts at speeds over 30 miles per hour. While black bear attacks are rare relative to the size of their population across dozens of states, documented fatal encounters do occur nearly every year somewhere in North America, often linked to bears that have become habituated to human food sources. One of the most extensively documented cases in American history is the so-called Night of the Grizzlies in Glacier National Park in August 1967. When two separate grizzly bear attacks occurred in different parts of the park on the same night. A pair of incidents that fundamentally changed how national parks manage bear encounters and food storage to this day. Wildlife agencies continue to stress that the overwhelming majority of bear encounters end without incident, and that proper food storage and situational awareness dramatically reduce the already small risk. In the decades since the Night of the Grizzlies, the National Park Service has rolled out bear-proof food canisters, mandatory food storage regulations in backcountry zones, and extensive visitor education programs, measures widely credited with reducing serious bear encounters in major parks even as annual visitor numbers have climbed into the millions. At number 3, we arrive at domestic dogs, an animal most Americans welcome into their homes as beloved family members. Despite this, dogs are involved in a documented number of fatal attacks across the United States every year, according to data compiled from public health and animal control records. Certain large, powerful breeds are statistically overrepresented in serious attack data, though experts widely agree that training, socialization, and individual circumstances play a far larger role than breed alone. Most fatal dog attacks involve very young children or elderly individuals, and a significant portion occur within the victim's own home or a family member's property, often involving a dog the victim knew rather than a stray or unfamiliar animal encountered in public. Public health researchers who study these cases consistently point to preventable factors, such as inadequate supervision around unfamiliar or stressed dogs, as the common thread running through the majority of documented incidents. Despite ranking this high on our list, it's worth remembering that the United States is home to roughly 90 million pet dogs, meaning the overwhelming majority live their entire lives without ever seriously harming a person. Organizations like the American Veterinary Medical Association actively push back against simple breed bans, arguing instead for community-level approaches focused on responsible ownership, early socialization, and public education about reading canine warning signs before a situation escalates. At number 2, we have flying insects, specifically bees, wasps, and hornets. This category consistently ranks among the deadliest in the country, primarily due to severe allergic reactions rather than the venom's inherent toxicity. According to data tracked by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, stings from bees, wasps, and hornets are linked to dozens of documented deaths across the United States in an average year, a number that has remained relatively stable for decades. Unlike venomous snake bites, which can often be treated with antivenom, anaphylactic reactions to insect stings can escalate within minutes, making rapid access to epinephrine critical for survival. Certain professions, including landscapers, beekeepers, and outdoor construction workers, face elevated exposure risks simply due to the nature of their work. Public health officials note that most fatalities occur in individuals who were previously unaware they had a severe allergy, since a person can experience a mild reaction to a sting for years before suddenly developing a life-threatening one. It is a sobering reminder that some of the deadliest animal encounters in America involve creatures smaller than a fingernail. Allergists recommend that anyone with a known severe reaction carry an epinephrine autoinjector at all times. And emergency medicine specialists point out that recognizing the early signs of anaphylaxis, such as swelling, difficulty breathing, or dizziness, can make the difference between a frightening afternoon and a genuine emergency. Which finally brings us to number 1, the most dangerous animal in the United States by an overwhelming margin, and it is not a predator at all. It's the white-tailed deer. Deer themselves are gentle, non-aggressive animals that pose almost no direct threat to humans through bites or attacks. Their danger comes entirely from a different source: roadways. According to data from the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety and State Transportation Departments, there are well over 1 million deer vehicle collisions across the United States every single year. And these collisions are collectively linked to somewhere in the range of 200 human deaths annually, along with tens of thousands of injuries and billions of dollars in vehicle damage. Deer populations have rebounded dramatically since the early 20th century, and with expanding suburban development pushing further into deer habitat, collisions have become especially common in states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Texas, particularly during the autumn breeding season when deer movement increases sharply, and during dawn and dusk hours when visibility on rural highways is at its lowest. The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety and numerous state agencies have documented this pattern for decades, making deer almost entirely through the vehicles we drive rather than any direct aggression on their part. The single deadliest animal encounter in the entire country by a wide margin over every other entry on this list. Safety officials recommend slowing down in posted deer crossing zones, scanning the roadside ahead rather than just the road itself, and remembering that deer often travel in groups, so if one crosses in front of you, there is a strong chance another one is following close behind. It is a strange twist that the most dangerous animal in America is not something with claws or venom at all, but a quiet plant-eating herbivore that most of us have watched graze in a field without a hint of concern. And there you have it, the 11 animals most likely to be involved in a fatal encounter in the United States, counting down from the exceptionally rare, like wolves and mountain lions, all the way up to an animal most of us pass on the highway without a second thought. It's a genuine reminder that danger in the natural world doesn't always look like a set of teeth or claws. Sometimes it looks like headlights at dusk on a quiet country road. Of course, this list only scratches the surface, and there are plenty of other animals across the country that could easily have earned a spot here. So let me know down in the comments, which animal do you think deserves a place on this list, and how would you rank these 11 yourself? I always love reading your takes and rankings, so don't be shy, and if you have your own story about a close encounter with any of the animals on this list, I would genuinely love to hear it in the comments as well. It's worth remembering that almost every entry on this list becomes far less dangerous with a little awareness, whether that means giving wildlife space, storing food properly in bear country, checking your shoes in spider season, or simply slowing down and watching the roadside at dusk. Understanding these risks is not about living in fear. It is about respecting the natural world we share space with every single day, even when that world looks like a quiet field beside the highway. Thank you so much for watching all the way through, and I will see you in the next one.